Back in 1979, I just returned from the UK after completing my education and started work in Malaysia. And the human resources manager there was a Sai devotee. So we met, and he didn't say anything about it. We had the interview, and then he suggested one day he came to me and he said, "What are you doing this weekend?" I said, nothing special. He said, "Why don't you come? We're having a retreat, And I didn't know what this retreat was. Anyway, I went with him. He took me out to some faraway place. It was in Virgin Jungle, actually. And we went there, and I saw a lot of these people there, and there's a huge photo of Sai Baba. And I looked at it and I said, okay, just going back a little bit, when I was a baby, I had a huge mop of hair, and I still got that photograph. And my mother used to say, "Your hair looks like Sai Baba." I didn't know who Sai Baba was at that time. So anyway,
which year?
This was 1954, when I was born. And so I didn't take that too seriously, and I didn't know who Sai Baba was. Never heard of him after that, until this incident in '79, where I was taken to this place. And I looked
Which forest you said it is?
It is in Malaysia. It is way up north from Kuala Lumpur. This guy took me up there. And it was a very uplifting weekend. When I saw the people there, very, very loving, a lot of love there, a lot of spirit. I thought there must be something about these people, So I said, okay, let's go. And then he used to tell me, look, if you like it, why don't you come with me for bhajans? I go for bhajans every Thursday. So I went there, and they were singing songs and all this sort of thing, and I had no idea what these songs were. So I said, okay, anyway, it was nice. The music was very good, and I carried on. And then we went on for a while, and I noticed that as I was going along, every time I said Sai Ram, whatever situation I was in was actually being either allayed, a fear was allayed, or a situation was made right for me. If I was rushing for a meeting somewhere, somehow the meeting got delayed and they were waiting, and I was in time for the meeting, that sort of thing. And then one day I was going for a meeting in a place which was really totally unknown to me. And I met this gentleman, and normally he was in a rush as well. And I said, look, I can't find this. This is the days before GPS and smartphones and all that, And he said, look, let me find out where this is. He rang a few of his friends around, and he came back to me and he says, I think I know where it is. I'd love to take you with me, but I tell you what I'll do. He took one of his business cards and he drew a map for me. This is how you go, this is turn and all that. He was so extremely kind, and he tells me, if you get lost, come back here. That is my office up there, but I'm meeting there. But you come back here and I'll take you after my meeting. And I thought, this is wonderful, I've never experienced this kind of love from anyone before that. And I thought, and he's a total stranger, not someone I've known before. So anyway, I continued, and then I moved to Australia. And there, Swami's got a unique way of saying that you don't run away from the organization, You are here, I'll make you continue. I went there, and there was a Sai center. I bumped into a chap, and he said, do you know anything about Sai Baba? I asked him. And he said, yes, I got a friend of mine. He said, come over to my place for dinner tomorrow, and I'll introduce you. I met him, and he told me where the Sai center was. I went there. And to cut a long story short, after about 4 years or so, I became the president of the center. They made me president, and I was wondering, Swami, what on earth am I supposed to do here?
Till now, you have not seen him?
No. I've not seen Swami at all at that time.
And have you told your parents?
No, I beg your pardon. Let me go back a step. At that stage, when I first went for this camp or the retreat, and I came back, and I was very quiet about the whole thing. And eventually when I started going for bhajans, and this bhajan, Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam, really attracted me. And I used to keep singing this, so much so my sister used to start singing as well, And I thought, there must be something in this, for them to all get attracted to this. So we continued, and then eventually in 1981, I was going to migrate to Australia, and my mother said, I've made a vow for you, and that is, we have to go to Sabrimala to fulfill a vow before you go. So you must take me to Sabrimala. So I said, okay. I took her to Sabrimala, and I thought, I'm going to India. Why don't I go to Puttaparthi? So that was the first thing. I went to Bangalore and then took a bus and went to Puttaparthi. My mother said, I can't travel and all that. So I left her with some friends in Puttaparthi, went to Bangalore, and I saw Swami for the first time in person. Came back. And I went to Malaysia. Nothing. I didn't feel anything, or Swami didn't call me or anything. I had his darshan. That was it. Went. So after that, like I say, in my case, it was not dreams or callings or anything. It's a calling, but it is not something that was physical. So it was like as if there was a flow in the river, and Swami said, "I'll take you along. You just leave it to me, and I will take you where you have to go." And I just followed that, and went to Australia, became the president of the center. Ran a lot of
You were saying that your father asked you why you were.
Yeah, that what happened was when I first mentioned to them about Sai Baba.
Your parents.
To my parents, and he said, "We know who Sai Baba is. Why are you so interested in him?" He said, "I think he's God." And he said, "So you think he's God?" I said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Is there a shortage of gods in Hinduism that you need to find another one?" So I said, "Yeah." So because they were all very pious Hindus, extremely pious Hindus, and they believe that no man can be a god. No physical man can be a god. You see, in this 79, this same gentleman, the HR manager who took me to this place and all that, took me for bhajans and all, before going to Australia. He came to me and he said, "Are you free this weekend?" I said, "Yeah." "Why?" He said, "Can you come with me? There's a gentleman coming from India, and he's on his way to Australia, and can you meet him?" And I said, "Yeah, I have no problems. I can meet." I was a bachelor that time, anything goes, no problem. So I said, "Okay." And I met, and it was actually Howard Murphet. Yeah. And he was my inspiration, actually, really. And so the day before I was going to go to the airport, that time is the old airport in Malaysia, in Subang, I had a vision of a man that I was going to see the next day who had a bald head, Anglo-Saxon Australian, a bald head. And I didn't pay much attention. I've never seen Howard before. I didn't know who he was. So the next day when I went to the airport, and I met Howard and his wife Iris, and got talking. And then what he did was, he always wears a beret, Howard. He took his beret off, and that was the bald-headed man I saw in that dream. So it was like somebody telling me, "I'll be sending somebody, you meet that man first." So I met him, and after that, we put him up in, because he was writing his third book called The Invitation to Glory, and he wanted a nice cool place to do that, so we put him up in a place called Genting Highlands, in Malaysia. Nice, cool, like our Ooty Hills, So he put him up there. And so every evening after work, there were three of us from the same company. We used to go up the hills, enjoy dinner with them, sit at Howard's feet, and he used to tell us stories about Swami, what he did and all that. That really got me inspired on what he was telling me. Here is a man, and I asked Howard, "What made you go to India to find it?" He said, "That's a very long story, but if you read my book, The Man of Miracles, you will see what I've made." So he gave me the book, and I read the book. And he was in search of this thing that was missing in his life. And he went to so many. He went to Rishikesh, he went everywhere. He said, "They are not the right people." And finally he found somebody he thought was right. And he stayed there for many, many years and wrote many books on Swami. So Howard was this inspiration. And he used to tell us lovely stories, And he was able to put it in very simple terms. And it really gelled with me, and I could absorb it. And I thought, here is something that I've never. You see, when my father used to take me to the temple all the time, and every time I'll try and go there and ring the bell. So I got something to do. Otherwise, I would sit there and listen to the priest doing his puja, and I don't know what is going on. So I used to always go there, and I used to be the bellman, ring the bell. At least there's something to keep me occupied. You see, so. In that situation, nobody explained about why Ganesha had a trunk and all this kind of thing. You see, so anyway. Howard really got it down to good spirituality. Then eventually I used to see my son, my younger son, he had a problem. He jumped from the bed one day, unfortunately didn't clear his arm. It was a trunk bed, so his arm got trapped in the railing and snapped the ulna in the radius. So he had to go in for surgery and all that, and after that he was in tremendous pain. So, and of course this is after I got married and all that, and we had to take him, and so I thought, since we are going to India, I'll take him to Puttaparthi, and went there, and we were in a shop, I don't know, I think it was buying a kurta or something, and Swami drove past, and he lowered the window and looked at him, After that, his arm the pain started going, and he became pretty normal again for a while.
Which year was this?
This was in 1992, 92, you know. So it was wonderful that way that, you know, there was this miracle happening. And in addition to that, there were so many instances that happened in our day-to-day life in Australia. And in 2005, my wife passed away suddenly in Malaysia. That was a big blow, you know. And I had the same young man looking at me, and he's saying, "You are praying so hard, you believe in Sai Baba. Which loving God will take my mother away from me when I'm this young?" So I had to explain to him what life is all about.
How old was he?
He would have been about 12, you know, so, or maybe older than that. He might have been 15, you know. So, but, you know, I managed to do that. And not once did I feel I was let down, you know. I told Swami, for whatever reason, you needed her more than I needed her. So you need to now look after me. And not a day passed, I tell you, Arvind, where I said, "Why did you do this to me?" Not a day. My wife was always doing social work, you know. She was looking after elderly people, working for the Red Cross and all that sort of thing. And so we came back and she went to work. And normally when we go to Malaysia, she'll complain of headaches and all that. But this time, nothing. We had a good time. She met all, you know, weddings, all the relatives would be there. She met everybody, the whole family came back. And I went to work, and she went to work, and the children went to school. It was a Monday. And she came home, and then she rang me. She said, "I did a very good deed today, you know." I said, "What was that?" She said, "There was a pregnant woman, and she had rung because her water had burst. Her water had burst, and the baby was going to come out. And she had rung the Red Cross, and they said, 'Will you go?' And they said, 'Will you go?' Because she's the only one with a car. Nobody else had a car. You know. So she said, 'Okay, I'll go and I'll take her to the hospital.' So she went and went to the house. She said the husband was there, and he was sitting there with the beer. And she said, 'You know, your wife is in a serious condition here, you know.' And he said, 'Look, my lady, she's the one who's pregnant. If she wants, she can go to hospital.' That was his attitude. So she packed her bag and everything, helped her, took her to the hospital, got her admitted. This lady, she's a migrant, you know, held her hand and said, 'Please don't go.' So she said, okay, stayed with her, got everything done. And then she said, 'Look, I've got to go now. And during my lunch break, I'll come and see you again.' So she went back, saw her, that she was settled, everything was okay. And then she came home, then she told me this was the good deed she had done. And when she rang me, she said, 'Make sure you come home early today. I'm a bit tired, so we can have dinner and go to bed early.' I said, okay. So I came home, and she had cooked a most fantastic dinner, you know. And I thought maybe I missed an anniversary date or something like that, you know, that I had forgotten. But no, nothing like that. She just cooked it. And I said, 'What made you cook something like this?' She said, 'No, I just felt like cooking something nice.' So anyway, beautiful dinner. Even the boys, you know, who normally like Western dishes and all that, they said, 'Amma, why can't you cook like this every day?' You know. So that was how good it was. And then she said, 'I'm going upstairs,' you know. So she went upstairs. And the children were doing their homework, you know. So I then continued, and after some time we finished our discussion. He went, I took the cup, washed, kept it. I went upstairs to our bedroom, and the bathroom light was on, but there was no sound, you know. I said, "That's funny. She came up earlier, you know, nearly 20 minutes ago she was here." I knocked on the door, no answer. And the door was locked from the inside, you know. And all my tools are in my garage, you see. So what I did, I got a coin, and with that I managed to prise open the door. I saw her flat on the ground. She was sitting against the shower, sitting like that, you know. And I said, "Oh my God," you know, I checked the pulse, I couldn't get any pulse. Checked the breathing, no breathing. So I carried her, put her outside, then I called the boys, they came immediately. I said, "Get an ambulance immediately," you know. So they rang, and the ambulance, within 2 minutes the ambulance was there. So they then took her to hospital, and they said, "Look, the 2 ambulances came. The second one came, and they said, 'You go with her, and I'll get the children, we'll lock up and we'll come.' So the second ambulance people came later. So I went to hospital, and there was, they took her in, and it so happened that one of the Sai devotees' son was there that day. So he came rushing out, and he looked at her. Then he came out, and my older son was there. So he asked him, "Where's your father?" He says he's gone down to register her name and all that, you know, complete the registration. So then I came up, and he met me, and I said, "Look, what is the problem?" And, you know, Is it a heart or what? He said, no, I think it's a brain, but I'll keep you informed. I'm not going home now. He stayed there. In the meantime, he rang his father, and all the Sai devotees came to know. So by the morning, the whole hospital was full of Sai devotees. And then they went to, in the afternoon, they went into the chapel and bhajan started.
That's the beauty, no? Swami's family,
Yeah.
Sai family.
Sai family. Everybody came, So they started there. And then the next day I met the neurospecialist, and he said, look, I don't think we will be able to do anything. It's a ruptured aneurysm in the brain, you see. And what it done is the blood had flooded and damaged the brain stem, Therefore, there's no connection to the heart, you see. So they had her on life support system, and they kept her going. And I said, look, please keep her going, at least till her parents come, I want them to see. They came, and they saw her. And then the mother looked at her and said, she looks very normal, like somebody sleeping, Why are you saying that she cannot be revived? I said, look, the situation is pretty serious, in the sense that her brain thing is damaged. If you switch off the machine now, that's the end of her, So we need to think about this very carefully. So we said, and I prayed to Swami, and I said, whatever decision you make, Swami, let it be for the best, It's no point she continuing and not being able to do anything and lying like a vegetable. That will make us even more sad, So anyway, but if there's any hope of helping her, we should. So I got everything. All the Sai devotees came, all specialists, they all came, they looked at her, and they all gave me their advice. And finally, the next evening, we had to turn off the machine, and then the doctors came to me and they said, look, before we do that, have you ever talked about organ donation? And we both have. And we said, look, if anything happens to either of us, if anything can be used to save another life, use it, no problem. So I told them that, and they said, okay. Till today, Arvind, I'll tell you, I get cards on the 26th of July every year, thanking for the life that we have given them, the liver, the heart valve, and all this sort of thing. They write to us, and they said, your loss, because of what you did, I'm still alive today. The recipient, right? I don't know who they are, because they don't. She lives on. She lives on.
Uncle, like I have seen some of your videos. I met you in US. I met you now. I never thought of you as a person who has seen so much tragedy in life.
Yeah.
You don't appear. You're always so cheerful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, because I always feel it all happens for a reason. We are not up to that level to know the reason, and we accept it, and we say, "I will be done, come what may." And since that experience of losing my wife, many people who, Sai devotees who lost a spouse, I was able to tell them with conviction, Swami will never give you more than what you can handle. He will be there to hold your hand. Believe me. And many of them have come back to me after that and said, what you said is very true. He's there to guide us. I said, have faith in Swami. Whatever it is, hold on to his feet. If it is getting more difficult, hold on tighter. Hold on tighter to his feet, and you will be fine. And so many of them have come out of this situation through that. All this progress that happened in my life, I can see very clear that it is being guided by the unseen hand, and always Swami is there. And this is where I pray every day to him and say, thank you for a wonderful day that you gave me today before I go to bed. And your guidance and your grace has helped me to achieve and made it a truly wonderful day. So thank you, Lord. That's the way I do it. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.